Hi everyone, it's Path. Today we are going to talk about something different. I want to go through one thing that happened in the last few days, probably about a week, and if you can see on the screen right now, it's a downward movement on my collection. This is the silk collection that I have. This is in USD. So let's talk about this, and I think it's interesting to talk about because recently, if you have seen in the last few months before October, maybe up all the way up to end September, almost every video you saw out there, it's about, how is the price going up and up and up all the time, and it doesn't go down at all. So today it's interesting because finally we have something different to talk about, and it's the price going down. So let's start with it. Hey everyone, it's Path from the future. And I realized I forgot to mention the reason why I made the video. This is actually because there is a little bit of a drop in the Bitcoin value in the last few days. So if you see here in the past 5 days, it has dropped for about 7.4%. If you have huge holding in this, it can be quite substantial. And of course, S&P 500 as well. Ever since the trade war between US and China was announced by Trump, and warned of a big tariff for some of the things, and the China did the same thing to the whole world with the precious metal and all that thing. Stock market was having a little bit of a shock. Later on you will see that when I go through the prices in the boxes, some of them really do slow down in the last few days at least. But the prices, it really depends, right? But also I wanted to show you the reason why I also made the video is because there are many people who actually covered something quite similar, talking about market stagnation. Team Rocket Joey was talking about, I normally don't watch his video as well. I don't know, I don't agree with most of the things he say. Maybe you would agree with him a little bit more if you're in the US. Maybe it's a regional thing. But this video does look interesting. 151 ETB reprint confirmed. Maybe I'll watch it later. Henry is another one that swinging both sides of the fence. He used to preach for, just wait for MSRP, everything's going to drop. But recently he also, I think, bought into some of the boxes that he said he's going to wait until MSRP. But the most recent video today, he was also talking about, danger ahead, at least in the short term. Orion, today actually he had another video. I believe it was deleted. I think I know why the reason the video is deleted. I actually watched the video. I can't remember whether I watched the whole thing, but at least half of it. And I think the main reason why it was deleted is because in the video he kept mentioning Destined Rival and Mega Evolution booster box selling at $200 crash, 50% crash or things like that. I'm not sure whether he made a mistake somehow. He maybe mistook it somewhere, or maybe he got a super good deal from somebody and he really did manage to buy for $200 per booster box. And in the comment section, actually many people ask, where can they also buy, $200 booster box? I would like to buy them. I think I left a comment there as well, similar comment. And I was just genuinely interested to know if it is true that it really did drop, 30, 40, 50% for Destined Rival and Mega Evolution booster box overnight. I'll be very interested to pick a few boxes up. And of course, Alpha Investment Rudy spoke about this as well. They talks about market getting shaky. This is actually one of the more serious video in the recent close to 1 week. And you can see here he recently liked to put in his video title, lose how much money doing this, lose how much money doing that. Is trying to be a little bit funny, but also maybe it does help, to cool down the market a little bit, rather than just in the video always saying that I make so much money and things like that. Maybe it does help. Anyway, back to the video. What I'm going to do right here is I'm just quickly going to look at a few of the recent sets in the Scarlet and Violet. I'm not going to touch Sword and Shield because when we are talking about price movement, it doesn't really affect those things so much. But I'm also going to just mention, besides the price, the other thing we want to look at is volume, transaction volume. So I'm just going to base on TCG player right now because they are a little bit more updated. I can attempt to show you the data on Pokédata, but usually they are about a week behind, or at least a few days behind. So, and if you see here, this is Scarlet and Violet base. Recently, what is the sold price is still close to $240. So although there are people who out there, I'm not sure where they get the number from. Many people are saying that, oh, boxes are going down 20, 30%, 15%. But for many of these cases where, especially if they didn't have a huge run up the whole year, it doesn't really make sense. And it will not definitely be showing such a huge drop or consolidation. So even if you look at the volumes, if we zoom in for the 1 month wheel, you can see that the price has been going up, but the volume seems to be slowing down in the last few days or so. So recent 1 or 2 days, there's none sold on TCG player. I think definitely this is just a stagnation. It looks like a stagnation. It's not really something to be too concerned about, like crashing or things like that. Powder Evolve, similar. This one is a little bit more obvious if you look at the volume graph, transaction volume. So all the way up to September, the volume is still pretty high, but recently has been slowing down. After some time in middle September, it was slowing down, and the last 2 days none sold on TCG player. Again, the price looks to be still going really nice. In the last 3 months is up 26%, but if we zoom in 1 month, definitely you can see a sharp drop here from 3rd October to now. So it was selling at $475 and right now it's $466, about 10%, $10 lower. So if you look at the recent sales, we have 438. This is like the lowest on the list on TCG player. Yeah, but recently it's closer to about 450, 455, something around there. 425 is the lowest, it seems that way. This is on 6th October. It is still selling in the last 1 month, but definitely you see gaps in between here where none were sold. So if people really need the money to maybe reinvest, or for their business, they are churning and burning, where they need capital, maybe they'll lower their price and try to sell them out a little bit quicker. Let's move on to temporal forces. Now I do not want to just include boxes that are really popular, so you see I included SV01, which we all know that is going to be out of rotation next April. But I also include temporal forces. This is SV05, which will not be out of rotation until another a year or so. And this is not a very popular box, and that's why it's interesting to talk about, because if you are talking about a downturn, if you're talking about a crash, these are the boxes that will definitely crash first. So this is one box that I will keep an eye on for the next couple of weeks. This is definitely something that people will start dropping the price and try to get rid of them first before they touch the more popular items. So similarly, you can see that the sales volume is low. This is in a 1 month view, even though the price still seems to be up. But there are none selling in the last 3 days. And if you look at the sales data, actually it is still selling very well, surprisingly. So yeah, the price is still very, very high in the last sold. This is 8 October. Maybe the next one will be 250. Who knows? That's how the market works. When people really need money, they're going to drop, and then if nobody else is buying at those prices, maybe we'll just keep dropping, a race to the bottom, as they say. Stellar Crown, quite similar. This one is even longer. It has not been selling for, let's take a look at the 1 month view. Has not sold any since 28 September on TCG player. This is 2 weeks. None sold in 2 weeks, so it seems like it's going flat. It's because none has been sold. So if someone suddenly realize, oh, I really need the money and I have a ton of Stellar Crown, let's just drop it by maybe 10%, 20%. This line is going to go down. That's how it works. But actually, it doesn't seem to be true. You see, if you just click on the sale data, you will see that there are still boxes selling. This is Korean, so let's not take those into account. So on the chart, it says that from 28 September, nothing was sold, but it's not true, because if you look closer, they are actually selling maybe just a couple of boxes a day, but they do sell. Not at a very high volume, but the price seems to be holding up, and it's in fact it seems to be going up. You see, it was 260, 270, 280, and the last sold was 290. Seems like Stellar Crown is bucking the trend. It's very, very surprising. If you have Stellar Crown, good news for you. Let's move on. Twilight Masquerade. There's a sharp V shape over here, so it dropped to this point where I think was when the ETB came out and a lot of booster bundles. That was the lowest point in the last 3 months, and then after that it has been going up and up and up, and this is like the all-time high if I'm not wrong. Yeah, definitely the all-time high. So $330, but you can again see that the sales volume peaked at around May, and then it was continuing to be quite high up to June. Then August is a little bit higher as well, but after that it has been dropping. So if we take a closer look in the last 1 month wheel, let's look at this. 10 October was the last sold, $323. It is firmly above $300, definitely. Does seem to be holding in terms of the price, and it was selling about average 1 to 2 boxes a day. It's not very high volume, but I think given how old this is actually more than a year old by now, close to 1.5 years old. So the fact that it is still selling, it says something about the market. Let's move on. Surging Spark. Surging Spark is definitely one to look for because it is interesting. Many people say that it is one of the best set in the era, but the price doesn't seem to reflect that way, because if you just compare Surging Spark price to even Stellar Crown, Temporal Forces, it's not like it is selling higher than any of the other less popular sets, supposedly less popular set. But in terms of the volume, it is definitely going. Maybe we don't get any reprint in Singapore, unfortunately. In the US, maybe you have them a couple months ago. So I think some of the people actually still hold quite a bit of a volume of this box, and probably they are starting to sell them off. But very interesting thing to see is that Surging Spark, even though many people say that it's one of the best, probably top 3 in the era, if not at least top 5, but the price is not reflecting it for now. Yeah, maybe people are still waiting for a huge reprint, which may happen because this is only barely 1 year old. This was released 18 October last year, or 17 or 16, something like that, but it's almost exactly 1 year from now. The day of recording is 12 October. But the good thing about this box is the volume, because the volume is still going quite well. If you compare this to the other boxes, this is still selling, some days it is sold, 5 boxes, 3 boxes, and 13 boxes in a day, as compared to the other less popular box. That's what I have been saying. There's a difference between a more sought after box, a more popular box, compared to boxes that, even though the price seems very nice, like Temporal Forces, but it's not really selling that easily. But if you have Surging Spark and you have maybe a couple boxes you want to, liquidate, this can go very quickly, especially if you are willing to sell at a slightly lower price. Like it at the peak was about $300 September 30th, and right now it is about 10% lower, 10 to 15% lower. So honestly, of course, many people will say that, oh, if another big wave for reprint comes, maybe the price will go even lower. Could be true, yeah, but if for me, because I bought it at release and I slowly bought it up to close to about MSRP price, and then I stopped buying, I got enough. Really interesting thing right now is if you bought it here, unfortunately, and if you don't have the liquidity, you don't have enough capital to wait it out, then you may have to suffer. But if you are someone who has been holding for a while, if you bought it somewhere around here, even though there's a sharp drop at the moment, you're still 10% up. So I don't think you have to worry too much about it, especially you can afford to wait. And this is another one. The volume has been going up. Prismatic Evolution Booster Bundle. Since August, the price has been going up and down a little bit. If you look at the 6-month wheel, it is going down, 28% down from the peak in April that it was selling at $80. Right now, I think it's probably the best time to buy, honestly. Especially in Singapore, we don't get them in retail at all, and the shops are not getting much of this. So most of the things that we get in Singapore are all imported from the US. So if you can get anything close to this price, especially in Singapore or any other country besides the US, I think it's a good buy. especially for prismatic evolution. These popular sets, when all this thing dries up, I think there's only one way for it to go, and that's up. Similar idea for prismatic evolution. ETB they don't reprint as much as the booster bundle, so the price seems to be holding better than booster bundle, but you can also see that the volume, it's holding up quite well. These are the popular items. Like I said, every day they are selling for about 10 boxes of them on TCG Player. Journey Together, wow, there's a nice U shape over here. It was at 260 and dropped down to 246, and right now it's back up to 260. But if we look closer, what about the volume? It was actually selling quite a few more recent few days. This is Japanese, so it doesn't count. The last one was 10 October on TCG Play, and after that there was nothing much, so it's around $260. Destined Rival, this is one that many people are saying, oh, it's going to crash, and so we are going to take a closer look. 100 of them sold at $467. I'm not sure how true it is and why it happened that way. And the day before, the few days before, it was actually also very high. The peak is here, 50 sold in a day. 21st September, $492. Something happened over there. Somebody was trying to pump it up, and then after that it dropped, and right now, yeah, another 60 sold just yesterday for $381. So this one, in terms of volume, I don't think you have to worry. Somebody really bought a lot of it. 47 boxes at $370. In terms of volume, I don't think you have to worry. Destined Rival is definitely one of the best in the era, one of the more popular ones. So if you have your hands on them, even if you bought it at a very high price, I think if you are able to wait, it's alright. Unfortunately, if you are someone who is a short-term speculator and you expect, in the next 2 days suddenly it will go up to $1,000, unfortunately you are not in the right hobby, and yeah, you are doing something very wrong. So please be very careful about that. Mega Evolution, if we look at the 1 month view, I think it's similar story to Destined Rival. It is going up a very high price. Similarly, in the end of September, right now it's about 15% lower. If we look closer, it's selling at about $305, still above $300. So this is like a 2 weeks old set, and it shouldn't be selling at this price. But I was hopeful that when the second wave comes out in another week or 2 weeks time, hopefully it will drive the price lower. But I just want to show you, let's go back to my chart over here. This is my collection. So at beginning of last week, it was at $84,000, close to $85,000. So right now it's closer to $84,000. So I lost $1,000 in a week. In terms of the cost, I didn't really buy much, just a little bit, because there's honestly not much to buy. And I also sold my case of my Temporal Forces, if you remember. So if we look at this in a 1 month view, you can see that back in September 12, it was 79,000. Right now it's 84,000. So actually it's still going up a little bit if you look at the full 1 month view. Of course, if you just compare from end September until now, it dropped for about $1,500. So as any of the investment, whether it's the more speculative ones like this ones, alternative investment, or the more traditional ones, there's always up and down. I think that's very normal. And so if you are getting into this and you cannot accept any loss at all, so I think you are definitely in for the wrong reason and with a wrong mindset, because these are things that will happen, whether it's traditional investment or the alternative ones, especially speculative ones like Pokemon Seal product. Definitely you cannot expect it to just go up and up and up, like what has been happening in the last few months. I have been saying this is abnormal, very abnormal. Every month you see it, almost every day 1% higher. I definitely see that it's going to stop someday. I'm not sure when, but it seems to have happened in the last 1 week. So in the last 1 week it has been dropping a little bit, but because my position is quite varied, I have some of the older things, I have some of the newer things, The older things usually are, of course, they are also affected, but some of the things are a little bit more popular than the rest. So usually it will affect the less popular things first, because yeah, that is the thing that people will let go first compared to the more popular things. So this is what I wanted to cover today. If you take a step back and look at it this way, this is a blip in just 2 weeks time in the whole term. And if we even look at 1 whole year of me putting money into the hobby and look at it that way, and it doesn't seem much at all. Right now it's just here, but if we are looking at it in the long term, I think it is still interesting to remember there are times like this where people are negative about it, and in the next 1 week, 1 month, it may go even lower. Who knows? Let me know what you think about this. Is it affecting you at all? And I hope you are being a little bit more careful about this thing. Remember, these are not investment advice at all, not financial advice. If you are putting money into this, I hope it is spare money you can afford to lose. Otherwise, please be very, very careful if you are buying into these things. Right, see you in the next one.